Well, I guess I'm interested. You talk about empowerment and presence. The one that jumped out to me the most here, safety, those key elements, but presence jumped out to me right now for it just. And I guess maybe I'm curious to know what you mean by presence whenever you use that word, and then how that fits with the experience that I just had. I feel like is quite strong. I wasn't thinking of that before I started to answer, but I think there was a lot of that
with the single selecting
even
the
just with
witness.
the one single figure. Yeah.
It's a good question. All of these principles, these qualities can be unpacked for the clinician's skills. Presence, for me, goes way beyond and much deeper than the initial level of Rogerian active listening and client-centered. It is unpacking that to go underneath so that we viscerally really stay so present by being self-aware and aware of the other, by working as much as possible to resonate, to get a sense of, and I mean sensorially, what do we smell, hear, feel, taste? It's a practice, it's a discipline like meditation, martial arts, any athletic endeavor, or the arts, the magnificence of piano and violin. This is a practice being present of no other distraction or thoughts are coming through. What are my goals? How do I phrase this for insurance companies? What does the supervisor want? What is this client's
complete focus?
It's all of that is removed, and a complete presence to really listening and hearing. What are you saying? What are your words? And what am I hearing underneath that? What is there that we can amplify, extend, deepen, pull from that? And by saying we, I'm silent, except for moments when I need just a little bit of opening. What you mean by that, and then we can move into amplification. So for me, presence is a deep existential awareness that goes underneath Rogers and Jung's disciplines and theories about being with client. It is being with client and self within an environment.
So I'm really glad I asked that question, because it resonate. What your response is resonating with me on multiple levels. But it seems like. So I guess one of the first things that strikes me is the sense in which it's not just listening to the words. You mentioned self-awareness. It's a mixture of self-awareness and other awareness. And when you said that, I'm thinking of myself when I'm sitting with clients, and I am in that complete zone that you were describing. I mean, obviously not all the time, but when you get into that zone where you're just every aspect of your being is trying to embody their experience, and at the same time is an awareness of the limitations of that, and maybe the awareness of the sort of the emotions that are coming up in me as I interact with this other person. So it seems like presence is all of that, almost, and maybe even almost like a sixth sense or an awareness of other senses that aren't the immediate five that we always speak about.
Yes, it's an absorption. How much can I absorb and be receptive to without blocking? Right. Because without our own psychological work, without our own diligent work on our own stuff, then we'll block. We'll block the grief, we'll block the rages, we'll block all of the authentic emotions. When you were talking, one of the very examples that came up is when we don't speak the same language. If somebody's speaking to me in Chinese or in Afghani, then how do I have to really pay attention to tone and the phrasing and the rhythm of that language.
That's right.
And so if we weave, or if somebody has a different ability with language. We were speaking of whether somebody was completely blind, diagnosed, in that way, or so one is deaf or one is blind. We stretch the other senses, and so in a way, there's a parallel. If I really want to understand the other, then I must go beyond my own mundane sensibilities that I might blissfully or not walk through the world and move back the curtain, listening in that deeper way. And then existentialism trains us to not be in our head, but what am I listening for?
Right.
Where is the sense of, where is there a limit to freedom? Because freedom's so important. Where is meaning? Where is the intensity of our mortality, death, tomorrow, in 5 minutes? Where is it that we can really listen for connection and disconnection, freedom and lack of freedom, meaning and purposelessness?
And these all coming regardless of cultural, specifics or language or whatever. And that same thing, like, I couldn't help thinking as you were talking about engaging with someone from another language, not only are we listening for the tone, but we're also watching the mannerisms. We're watching the eye contact with the others that they're making in the room. What are they looking at? What's the overall disposition? Tenseness, right?
Yes.
Tension or relax, meekness versus aggression, and any, there are millions of different ways of being. And the other part of it then, not just being aware of all those, but also being aware of the changes that are constantly taking place, sometimes in a split second.
Yes.
The transition
Subtle.
from safety to under threat, fear, or something like that.
Yes, and you've seen that, as have I, when we travel to another culture and we're unfamiliar. So in a way, in sand therapy, if we're doing this with full dignity to the other, then we are stepping into another cultural world, another cultural way of being, and we must be cautious and be self-aware and stretch out our sensibilities to, gently walking in this space and really being attentive and respectful of the other.
And so all of this comes into presence. And the last awareness that kind of came to me in your response there was the figure I selected was this like parental, bear figure with the child figure on top looking out. And the sense, again, that this particular idea is getting at the visceral, something that's more instinctual, as opposed to the preformed or the adult self, the critical parent, the one that's always setting up barriers or responding, as you said, out of just the trained response. And
yeah, it was
so
that
presence
cute. It's like, what? No. Let's move beyond all these figures in the world and all these representations. We look at a continuum of the sacred to the mundane. And so the mundane is when we go into a gift shop and we see a cute little squirrel or a bear and, oh, isn't that nice? But we are moving now toward using figures in sand therapy to respect them as beyond the mundane, to incorporate the groundedness, the earthiness of the mundane with the sacred. So it's Joseph Campbell's mythology, the hero's journey, all of that work. It's Carl Jung's work with the numinous and understanding the profoundness of the sacred coming through. And it's all indigenous cultures from the 40,000 years ago to now in our effort to represent identity, our effort to represent, to even see ourselves. We have mirrors we never did before. But to how do I see myself when I come up to a tree or to the ground, to the ocean? It's really that. I love that you use the instinctual, because when we select figures, when we move into an altered state of consciousness in sand therapy, which is what it is, it's a projective technique, we are opening the doors to move from the, isn't that cute, that knee-jerk reaction, to honoring, my goodness, look what has shown up.
Well, and even with that, I'm just aware. I'm being made aware of this that it's the critical or the trained aspects of the brain that would be dismissive or would miss the jump to making conclusions versus just staying with that very, very basic and again, this goes back to earlier for me, the looking to the young, the untrained are the most pure representation.
Yes.
There's no mistaking. They respond with exactly what they're showing.
Yes.
Beauty
of children who have not been distorted, whose lives have
Right,
not been
right.
the initial baby, the initial little toddler, and their wonderment, and there is that constraint, that beauty. And so we return to that in sand therapy by by making it very safe, so that the inner child can come out at some age and
That's
explore.
right.